life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray.
Well, everybody, we are here for our Denver Metro real estate market update, and here with Anthony Miser. Wait, no, Anthony got kicked off. We're back with Brenna. The head honcho is back from maternity leave. So as we talk about our Denver Metro real estate market, Brenna and I have chosen to do this as a value to our people to say, here's what's going on in the market. Here's the real data, the real stats, not just, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. What do we do? Unless, of course, the sky is actually falling. And then, of course, we'll figure that out. So, Brenna, football season kicked off, right?
Yeah.
We're big football fans. We had a really fantastic game with Florida State against LSU. That was a fun one to watch.
Yeah, we pulled it out.
Ohio State started 2-0. Of course, I'm not sure how good Notre Dame is at this point after losing to Marshall. If you're a Broncos fan, like so many of the folks who would be watching this, that was a little frustrating to watch last night.
Yeah.
If you're a Bills fan, we had a fantastic week last week on Thursday to kick it all off and get Monday Night Football next week. So it's good. Football, Brenna. Talk to me about football for you. What do you look forward to the most with football season?
I grew up watching football and rooting for the Knowles. So it's fun. It's exciting. It's not that deep, right? Football. But it's fun. Florida State's been on the struggle bus for a few years now, and I think we're turning a corner. So I might be able to get through a whole game without screaming at the TV. So that's exciting. And just seeing the boys like it. And I had to make sure that everyone had their gear, their Florida State, Ohio State, and Bills gear. So I think everyone is ready in that capacity. I think it'll be a fun season.
Yeah, for sure. The boys were both decked out. They've got their Florida State and Ohio State and Buffalo Bills gear. Thankfully there's not a lot of Broncos gear in our house right now.
Here and there, but not a ton. Yeah.
I think Brenna's got some. So, welcome back from maternity leave. Fortunate for me, I got to spend a lot of time with you. Not as much as if I would have taken paternity leave, but turns out I don't work well from home. How does it feel being back into work and diving into the market that we're in?
It's good. I am very fortunate. Land Title is very supportive. So I truly stepped away, took email off my phone, and just tried to really enjoy the 3 months. And it was wonderful. It was a great summer. It went really fast. But it's a curveball coming back. Being out of the office, having the boys in daycare, I had to catch up on what's been happening. Obviously, living with an agent, I know a little bit about what's going on, but I haven't looked at numbers in a while until a couple weeks ago. So it's been fun to get back into it, and it feels good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the market, right? It's interesting because I'm hearing a lot of different conversations from different folks.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I respect in the industry are saying, hey, it's a great time to buy. When you've been competing as hard as buyers have had to compete for the last, 8 years, and in particular, the last 2.5 years, this feels a little better. So.
Yeah. And, I was talking to some folks the other day, and I feel like a lot of people in our industry, we're always saying it's a great time to buy, right? Like it's a great time to buy. It's a great time to sell. It's a great time to be in real estate. And if we're always saying that and we're not backing it up with the numbers as to why, it can just feel really shallow, or just kind of as a catchphrase. So I think the last couple of years, it's been a great time to be in real estate because appreciation has been incredible. If you've been lucky enough to be on the selling side, hopefully you've gotten to take advantage of that. And, even if you had to compete at a high level on the buying side, you got to reap the benefit of the very, very quick six-figure appreciation that we've had. So in that capacity, in the last couple of years, it's been a great time to buy or sell real estate. Now, I think it's a great time to buy or sell real estate because as a buyer, especially, you are not having to throw your firstborn child at it. You can get it for maybe list price, maybe under, and we'll kind of go through some of those stats. But the sky isn't falling. There's a big difference between a correction and even a recession and a crash. So we're not crashing. But we are in a recession and things are changing, things are shifting. And amazingly enough, in most markets, we're still in a seller's market. We've just been in such an extreme buyer's market, extreme seller's market, that it feels like the tables have totally turned. They haven't totally turned, but they've definitely moved, and we're seeing that, which all in all is very healthy because affordability is not sustainable as to the way we were going, very volatile. So yes, the dollars and cents were nice for some people, but as far as big picture, what we're moving towards and what we're moving into or are in right now is actually much healthier for our market.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's easier to be in this space a little bit right now. Looking at where the market's been for quite some time, and we're looking at just my market snapshot watch. Over the last 7 days, 1,100 new listings hit the market, and we've seen 900 close, and 1,400 have had a price reduction, right? So that's a shift from where it had been for quite some time. So,
well, and to touch on the price reduction really quick, I think some people are saying, well, homes are losing value, or we're having to do these price corrections, and that's not totally true because year over year we're still up over 8% in appreciation. However, we still have, especially in like July, when I'm looking back at the numbers, July kind of was like the really big dip and we all felt that as far as the slowing of the market. But a lot of that was we had these sellers that had their homes on the market as interest rates took a huge spike, as all of a sudden everyone puts their home on the market. And they didn't adjust their pricing strategy quick enough, right? Yeah. So when people have more options, demand is not as high. It's basic supply and demand, right? So if you had your home on the market and you're trying to price it like your neighbor that maybe it was only 2 months ago priced theirs with that same trajectory, you miss the mark, and now your house is overpriced for where we're going. But if you're looking back to where we were even last year, you're still pricing it above that mark. So it's all relative, right? But you have to adjust your sales. As I've mentioned before with boogie boarding or surfing, you want to be in the wave, not before it or after it. So we're starting to normalize a little bit because sellers are like, oh, okay, this is the shift. But buyers are very, very aware because they've been struggling and, tooth and nail for the past 2 years. So they feel the change coming and they're holding on to it. They have more options. They have more power. They're not giving everything on the inspection. They're going to maybe do an inspection objection in some cases. And so the power shift is switching a little bit, and we just have to adjust to that. So I think that's why we saw some of that dip there with the spike in inventory, dropping the prices a little bit, because we had to kind of adjust our sales for where we're at.
Well, the price reduction brings up another interesting point here. We all have home ownership bias, right? And what I mean by that is my house is nicer than all of my neighbors. I know that. They should know that, right? So my house is naturally worth more than everybody else's. And we look at that. As a seller, we tend to look through that lens of, well, I've got this upgrade and I've got this upgrade, but I'm discounting the upgrades that the competitor might have as I'm looking at it, right? It's like, well, it's not as desirable for me, so it's not as desirable for everybody. Or, yeah, this adds a whole lot more value here, but this doesn't as much, and we tend to overshoot because we've got bias that our home is great. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great homes, but the value might not be there when they're initially pricing it. So things are having to change, right? Is we could get away with that the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
You could really get away with it, and now it's being impacted a little bit more. So
cool. Well, if you'll pull up my slides then for the first to know stats. This is a little bit different of a slide deck than I usually show, but I really like the historical data, especially as we're talking about perspective. So we have the year over year and month over month perspective, and then back. So these numbers are a little bit small, but the blue line, or this purpley blue line right here, is 2018. Green is 2019. So as Matt and I have been talking for the past couple of years, 2019 is kind of our benchmark for the last quote unquote normal year. And then 2020 was orange, 21 was red, and we're here in this kind of bright blue right now. So active listings in August were 6,300. Now, if we remember back to the beginning of the year where we were at about 1,000, that's a massive increase, but it's welcomed. It's very good. We need that. As a reminder, the National Association of Realtors says a balanced market would be about 20 or 30,000 homes, probably closer to 20 for Denver. So we're at 6,300. We already saw a little bit of a dip this last month. That's more in line with some seasonality of kind of the end of summer. We're coming into that second half of the year, and the buying season is over. Now, it doesn't mean it stops. It's just kind of it's hit its peak, and we're kind of coming down on the backside. 2019 was a great year in real estate. We had great appreciation. It was a seller's market, and we were up at over 10,000 homes. So we had more supply by almost 4,000 homes, and we still had a really healthy market. So this number going up is a good thing. It's just different, and buyers are going to respond differently because they actually have maybe 3 homes to look at instead of 1. So just take a look at it from, bird's eye view the last several years in comparison, and hopefully it helps put things in perspective a little bit and not feel so scary as some of the headlines can indicate.
Yeah, more homes to choose from is a good thing, and to be frank, it helps with pricing as a homeowner, right? When we look at what else is on the market, what else might a buyer buy? Okay, is our house? We've got the homeowner bias, right? But is our house nicer or not as nice as the other home? And that helps with the pricing as well.
Yeah. So new listings. So just to clarify, active listings is a snapshot, or on the day we pulled this, which was the 1st of September, there were 6,300, 6,400 homes on the market. It's a little bit different if I was to pull it today. It just moves a little bit as far as active listings. The new listings is how many homes came on the market in the whole month of August. So that's a stationary number. So this one's actually been the closest metric that stayed in line historically, when everything else was going all over the place. This one was the closest to normal that we've seen. So as you can see, all these colors are right on top of each other. And we were pretty darn on par with 2018, 2019 for the first half of the year. And then we tapered out a little bit. Now, if you can see this green line, in 2019, we peaked and then it dropped really fast. Now, we did it a month later this year, but it's pretty much the same thing. So, we dropped. It was much lower than it has been, but that drop off is normal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if we kind of continue to even out, if it pops back a little bit and then evens out as we go through the rest of the year. But, this is all part of that normalization, that things have to swing one way, back the other, and then they settle somewhere in the middle. So that's what we're doing here.
Well, and it holds true. About the same percentage of the population moves every year. this is showing that indication from 2018 all the way to this year. That's why those lines are overlapping, is about the same number of people are going to move every single year, kind of regardless of what's happening. And we're going to see it fluctuate a little bit. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes it's going to be a little bit less, but it's not going to be just flatline and dead.
Right. And, we are down year to date on sold listings, and we'll probably end the year a little bit lower than we did the past year. But I think interest rates plays a piece in that as far as who can afford to buy a home currently. As we get closer to the election, typically interest rates go down. So maybe there's even some more opportunity there. There's also a lot of great products that we haven't had to explore in the past several years. Believe it or not, there's more than just a 30-year fixed. There's other products out there, right? I'm not an expert in that. I know enough to be dangerous, but reach out to your lender. There's some great ways to get in that we haven't needed, but they're available if you're looking to get in the market. Take advantage of a slight cooling in the market right now and still have that great investment. So pending sales are under contract or demand. We are down year over year 20%, but we're up a little bit month over month. So about 11.2% from last month. So this again, if you look here in the first part of the year, very, very close to 2019. And then summer happened where gas prices went up, interest rates went up, a lot of things happening in the media with what's going on, unsure. People don't like change, even good, bad, and different. People don't like change. And so the market's changing. So it stalls people out. They're unsure about what's going to happen. And so they just pause. But we're seeing a little bit of a rebound there. But we did in July see less than we normally do. Some of that was interest rates. Some of it was people being unsure. You don't want to buy if you think that your home's going to be worth less this time next year, which we don't foresee happening. And people smarter than me don't foresee happening. It just might not be 20% appreciation. It might be more in line with, 5%, 4%, 6%, which is still great. It's just slower than we've seen before.
Well, gosh, at the rate we were going, let's just go back in time. Let's say in 2018, we said, hey, 2023, your home value is going to be here, and it's way higher, but we didn't have the back-to-back 20% appreciation. But between 2021, 2022, and 2023, if that drops 5%, wow, I mean, still you're in a good spot if you had it in 2018. Right. It's a little bit hard on the short term for the folks that bought at the peak. 5 years from now, it probably won't matter. We'll set a new peak.
So this graph looks really messy, but I want to just show you because this is historical back to 2009. So we've been talking about this. This is close to list price. So this is what is the percentage of what the home sold for versus what it was listed for. So we peaked out at almost 107%, which was that blue line in the summertime. That's not sustainable. That's not awesome. We've talked about this, but the normal is it's typically right around 98, 99. It peaks at 100 and then comes back down. So if you can see back from 2019, all of these lines right on top of each other, that's what they're doing, that nice little curve. You've got these two outliers here the last 2 years, in 21 and the first half of 22. And then we had a dramatic drop. So we're down 3% year over year. And we took a big jump or fall down from last month, but we're still at 99.5%. which is very normal, which is very healthy. And depending on which market you're in, some of those are still 100%. And again, this is an average. So believe it or not, we're still seeing some homes go for over asking. We're seeing less homes go for over asking, and we're seeing less not 100,000 over, 50,000 over, maybe 5 or 10,000 over. We're also seeing some, like we talked about, some of those price reductions, and it's kind of evening out. But this is historically very, very normal and what we want. We did not want it to continue to go up to 108, 109. That's not good. That's too volatile. It's not sustainable. So yes, that looks like a very steep hill going down, but we anticipate that it will even out, and we're back kind of where we need to be. It's interesting when 100% seems low, right?
Yeah, right. Interesting perspective and context, right? And I think we were riding that roller coaster, and now we get the thrill of that scary moment as we're going down. But knowing this thing isn't going to hit the ground, right? We go all the way back to 2009, 10, 11, 12. And as you're talking about this, I'm looking back at those years and saying, gosh, 96, 97, 98%, even as the market bubble had burst. I don't think if you were to poll, right, do the family feud, right, 100 people surveyed, and here's the response, I don't think you're going to get that percentage as the highest percentage. I think people would have said, oh, it's 80%, 70%. They're buying it for 50 cents on a dollar kind of a thing. It's not what happened as the bubble burst from the real estate market just collapsing back when it did.
Well, and to bring that up, this is a completely different market. There's a lot more wealth. There's a lot more stability in our market. Mortgage regulations have been tightened. So people that are buying homes in a lot more cases are qualified to do so. Despite some of the headlines, again, our foreclosure list is still incredibly low because people have that equity. So, we did have some people get into trouble with the forbearance and different things like that, or maybe not being able to afford their home anymore. But thankfully, because of all of the equity, they're still able to sell, walk away with a check, and get themselves into a position that now works for them. So the flooding of the foreclosures is just still not happening. It's an incredibly low percentage, which is good.
Yep.
Will you pop to the other slide deck?
You got it. Look
Okay.
at this. We've figured out technology. We're making it easy and cool for people to watch.
I know. Thanks, Anthony. So really quick, and then I'm going to jump to some later slides. This is our market snapshot that we look at every month, and this is detached, single family, and attached combined. So green is active, blue is under contract or pending, and red is sold. So for the first time in a very long time, the green line is back above the blue and the red line, which is great. So we haven't seen that since Q1. Kind of Q2 of 2020. So this is a good thing because obviously having so few homes on the market is not what we want. So we'll continue to see that kind of even out. We need more inventory still. And because we still have that pent up demand of people, especially if interest rates, balance out a little bit. And more people can enter the market. Elliot Eisenberg, who is an economist, he was here in Denver today. He talks about, in the next couple of years, we're going to be off to the races again because millennials are going to be entering the market. They're already in the market, but even more so. So, if one thing is true about real estate, obviously it's local and it's cyclical. So it's just, that's something that you'll continue to see in most of these slides is we're just getting back to the normal waves instead of these crazy jagged peaks, which is a good thing.
Well, this is the third year, Brenna, you and I have been doing this back into the start of 2020 before the pandemic hit. And since Q3, Q4 of 2020, you and I have been talking about, we need that green line above the other lines.
Yep.
It to be below is not a good thing, not healthy. So finally we're back up above the other two.
Yep. So I want to talk about this. This is average sold price. This is detached single family. So when we talk about homes losing value or what that looks like, I just want to put in perspective for you. So this goes back to 2012. Now, if you look here, homes did drop in value, which they do every year. It's a little bit more dramatic this year. However, so year over year, or I'm sorry, month over month, we're down about 5%. Year over year, we're still up 8.3%. So if you bought at the peak of the craziest market, paying 107% of list price or more, you are still above that this year at the same time. So if you're looking at 2012, if we look at kind of, can you see my cursor?
Nope.
Do you see my, no, okay. So draw a line, if you will, right? 2012, 2014, 2016, that rise is pretty similar all the way up to 2020. And then the peak goes up higher. But if you were to continue that line, right, we're still outpacing it. So even if the pace was completely normal in 2020, 2021, 2022, even with this 5% drop, even with the slowdown, we're still outpacing that normal trajectory that we've gotten used to seeing since 2012. Now, if you're a buyer, take advantage of this time, because when the spring selling season hits again, things will pick up. They might not be the 14er. They might not be going straight up a cliffside, but they will continue to pick up again. So, yes, things are dropping. No, the bottom's not falling out. No, your home is not, you're not going to be upside down in most cases. It's another adjustment, but take a step back, look at this. It's a normalization. It's healthy. But we have to adjust our expectations of what it looks like when we're entering the market.
Well, and we don't think twice about being upside down in a car loan, right? It's, hey, I paid this much for the car. Now it's worth a fraction of what I paid for it originally. No big deal, right? Because we have the vehicle we bought. That's what we bought. We wanted it. We bought it. Homes, we tend to think of, well, I can never be in a position of inequity. And not that I am championing we need to normalize being underwater, because that's not it, right? Hear me as I'm saying this. As long as you can afford to keep it, you'll never lose with real estate, right? Because they're not making more land. So, we're dealing with a finite amount of space that we can build real estate on. So if you can afford to keep it, let's ride that wave, see where it goes. Because my bet, Brenna, if you and I are still having this conversation and still doing these live interviews 15 years from now, I'll bet that number's quite a bit higher, even if you bought at the peak of 2022 here at 187% of list price kind of a thing.
Well, and on the flip side of that, I've seen the memes and everything that say, your interest rate might be at 6%, but your interest rate when you rent is 100%. So the average rental in Denver went up $200 year over year. And the average rent in Denver is about $2,000 for under 900 square feet. Right. So, we live in Thornton. We have some new build condos, townhomes in the front of our neighborhood, and they are very cute. 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom homes, but smaller than most of the homes in the neighborhood, and significantly more than I think most people are paying for their mortgage for the rental. So, I know there's other factors as far as like getting qualified and everything like that. But if you're paying these rents, you're paying a mortgage. You're just paying someone else's mortgage, right? So, the landlords, everyone else, they are adjusting with inflation. They're adjusting to all those things, and you're going to pay the price in your rent. And that's why it makes sense, if you can, in a lot of ways, to get into real estate, to get into home ownership. So you're paying your own mortgage. You can take advantage of that appreciation and build some long-term wealth.
Still overall a great way to build wealth as you look at investment strategies, which is a whole nother rabbit hole, and I could dive down deep into, and Brenna will roll her eyes back in her head as I just geek out on it. But again, not the only vessel for building wealth, but certainly a phenomenal opportunity to get in and do that.
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of high level what I wanted to talk about today. I know a little bit different, but I just think, when we're looking at the market, looking at that historical data, even back beyond just a few years, like we do in our full slide deck, is really important just to see those peaks and valleys and what happens. And yes, it's changing. It might dip a little bit more, but I don't think we're going to bottom out.
No, I'm with you, right? In a little different context to a point that I made earlier, right? If you go to Las Vegas, you go to Central City, you're at the blackjack table, and for 2 hours you go up, 20%, 25%, 30%, and then the next hour from that peak you're down 5%. I think you're still pretty thrilled with how you're walking away from the table there, up significantly, right? So,
Yep.
So context as to a 5% drop from where we were, not the end of the world, right? It is declining, but we're not plummeting, right? This isn't the Tower of Doom where we're just gone.
Nope.
Right? So, yeah, I feel good about our real estate market. It's interesting to be in it right now. And I think we're going to see the effects of the rising interest rates and inflation continue to impact it. So I don't think we're going to see the rapid appreciation that we did over the last 2 years. I think it's going to stabilize. It's going to, if it increases or stays flat a little bit, that's not going to be the worst thing in the world, right?
No, and my advice if you're getting ready to sell your home is take a look at the market in your neighborhood, get as local as you can, get as hyper local, price it within the current market. And then, we've talked about this before, but you only get one chance to make a first impression. And that rings true with real estate as well. So, do the professional photos, do the staging if it's necessary, which in most cases it is. Put your best foot forward, and homes are still selling. They're still selling for at or even maybe a little above, but they're still selling. So, but you can't just sell a cardboard box, right? Like, so you got to put in the work, and you got to adjust your sales.
Buyers are getting more particular because they can, and they have more options to look at. So it's even more critical that presentation is top notch. I used to work for a guy when I was in the motorcycle industry. He said, Matt, only an idiot would try to sell a dirty motorcycle. That was his way of telling me to go clean some motorcycles. They were a little bit dusty. Nice way of telling me I'm being the idiot, right? So we live in our homes a little bit differently. We have to clear out the clutter so people can see it. Staging works for a multitude of different reasons, but being able to put together a prime presentation of the product is more important than it has been over the last couple of years. So get hyper local, call me. We'll walk through the specifics that you need to do as you prep and get your home ready to go.
Yep. And I'll provide the data.
That's perfect. So, all right, we started with football, Brenna. I'm going to go back and end it on football because I took a severe fantasy football beating this week. Brenna beat me by over 100 points, which is possible. So Brenna, fantasy football. Who's going to be your go-to through the season so far? Who's going to be that high scoring person for you?
Cooper Kupp had kind of a breakout season last year. He put up some impressive numbers last week or Monday or whenever, I don't even know, but whenever it was, Thursday. But so I think he will be a cornerstone of my team. And then I have Mahomes, and he's kind of Mr. Reliable, knock on wood. So hopefully those two will kind of lead me.
Brenna's going to ride that Cooper Cup wave back to another championship game. I've got a feeling. So,
I hope so.
Yeah, good. Well, Brenna, it's good to have you back. Not that we didn't enjoy Anthony as a special guest, but to have Brenna back here working and going through the stats, absolutely love having you. So again, thank you to Land Title for putting the data together that allows me to look at it, make some interpretations as to what I think's happening or what's going on, and make sure that what I'm feeling is backed up by the data. So, and of course, thank you, right, as you take time out of your day to help and go through this with us.
Absolutely. Well, happy to be back, and we'll see everyone next month.
All right. Sounds good. Everybody be well.